After the Pasuk describes how the Yidden brought all the different donations for the Mishkan, the Pasuk goes on to speak about how the Nesiim brought the special stones, the Avnei Shoyim and Avnei Miluim, for the Ephod and the Choshen, how they brought the special oil to use to light up in the Beis Hamikdash, in the Mishkan, also the Psamim, the special spices that we use for the Shemen HaMishcha and for the Ketores HaSamim. Rashi brings that Amar Rab Nosson says, why is it that the Nesiim brought first, when it came to the Chanukas HaMizbeach, to the dedication of the Mizbeach? This is a story in Parshas Nosoi. Why is it over there that they bring first? And when it comes to the donations of the Mishkan, they don't bring first? So the Nesiim had said, let the Tzibur, let the congregation, the community first bring all of their donations. Whatever they're going to be missing, we will bring. Once the Yidden brought everything, as the Pasuk says, there was plenty, there was even extra. The Nesiim said, what are we supposed to do now? So they went ahead and brought the above mentioned things, these special stones and so on. And this is why when it came to Chanukas HaMizbeach, they gave first. But because they were lax, they were lazy in our case, there's a letter missing from their name, as the Pasuk says, Vahanesiim, missing the Yud. So the Rebbe says simply what Rashi is trying to tell us is that the fact that the Torah is bringing this all the way at the end of all the donations is because the Pasuk is trying to emphasize that they brought it last. The question, however, will be, how does it make sense that the Nesiim should bring it last? And this is why Rashi gives us the whole explanation. However, says the Rebbe, there's quite a number of questions. I'm just going to mention some of the questions that the Rebbe says, because there's lots of questions. But first of all, the Rebbe asks, why is it relevant over here? Why by the Chanukas HaMizbeach they bring first? Why is Rashi starting with that? Furthermore, how can we say that the whole reason the Pasuk is coming to tell us over here is just in order to tell us that the Nesiim acted in a certain lax way, in a certain lazy way? Usually we know that Torah tries not to speak disgracefully even about a non-kosher animal. Another thing that Rebbe asked, there seems to be a contradiction. First, Rashi brings from Rab Nosson that the Yidden gave everything, but then it says, but the Nesiim brought the Avnei Shoyim, these stones, so then the Yidden didn't bring everything. The other question is, why in fact didn't the Yidden bring these few items if they were giving with such generosity? The Rebbe also asks, if the Nesiim brought such precious, beautiful things, why is it that they're even upset? They had an opportunity to bring these beautiful stones and so on. And I said before, the Rebbe asks quite a number of other questions, but just mention one more. Why is it relevant over here that Rab Nosson is the one that says it, as we know from other places that Rashi only quotes the name if it's relevant? In order to explain all of this, the Rebbe asks another question. Rab Nosson says, why did the Nesiim give by the Chanukas HaMizbeach first, and by the Melechas HaMishkan they give last? It seems to be that Rab Nosson's question is primarily and mainly regarding why they give first by the Chanukas HaMizbeach. Shouldn't that be the normal understood thing, that the Nesiim should be giving first? Why is the question, why are they giving there first? And Rashi too is asking it over here, bringing it in that way. And this is why the Rebbe explains that what Rashi is actually trying to say is something completely different. Rashi is trying to explain that normally the correct thing would be that the Nesiim should be bringing last. And that's why the question is, why is it that over there they bring first? In other words, what Rashi is telling us is, when it comes to a Nasi, to a leader of Yidden, the natural thing is, the first thing he does is to make sure he ensures that the Yidden are doing what they're supposed to be doing. In this case, they're supposed to bring the donations. He's making sure that they are bringing the donations first. Only then could he start thinking about his own personal avodah and coming to his own great heights and so on. The Rebbe brings an example from Moshe Rabbeinu, that he doesn't go taking care of his own affairs, even his greatest ruchnis, the ones, before first dealing with the Yidden. And therefore, only after the Nesiim will see that the Bnei Yisrael gave whatever they could give, this is when they're going to come and give as well. However, practically what ended up happening was that there was something lacking. They ended up missing out on something, as we'll see in a moment, and from this they understood that something they have done was not right. How do we understand this? So the Rebbe says, when we said before that the Yidden gave everything, we said, didn't they give everything? So why is there a need for anything else? It actually means that they actually gave enough for everything. That means whatever materials they had, they gave those materials. Even the ones they didn't have, like these Avnei Shoyim, etc., they also gave them money for it. If they don't have it, they're going to pay for it. And therefore, in essence, there was no need anymore for the donation of the Nesiim. It's very nice that they're donating it, but the money was paid for it already. So when the Nesiim see that their participation is nothing like everyone else, their donation is not even needed anymore, because whatever they're going to bring was paid for already. They could give it as a donation now, but it's not really a necessity. They realize there's something missing over here. They realize that they have done something wrong, and really there was a certain amount of laziness as well. Now, if that's the case, the question becomes, so why is it by the Chanukas HaMizbeach they actually bring first? And this is the answer. Since they realized that their understanding the first time wasn't right, there was a certain element of laziness mixed in. The proof is that they didn't end up having a proper participation. So they understood that even though, yes, it's true that usually the Nasi should make sure that everyone is doing everything first, but in this particular case, in regards to donation of the Mishkan, and therefore also by the Chanukas HaMizbeach, things need to be a little bit different. Why is that? Because the Mishkan is coming v'shachanti b'soichem to bring the Eibishter down amongst the Yidden, and to be a kapara for the Egel. And therefore, it's not only enough to make sure that, yes, all the Yidden are going to do everything, but there's also a certain element of zrizus needed. It also needs to be done as quickly as possible. So the Nesiim need immediately, together with getting the Yidden to do what they need to do, also quickly bringing whatever they can bring. And that's why by the Chanukas HaMizbeach, that's exactly what they do. The Rebbe says there's still another thing left to be asked. Seemingly, why can't we say that their encouragement of the Yidden to bring, that should be their participation? Isn't that enough of a participation? Getting the Yidden to bring. And this is what Rashi is hinting by bringing Rab Nosson. There's a famous rule in the Gemara called Shibuda de Rab Nosson, which briefly works as follows. If Reuven owes Shimon money, Shimon owes Levi money, we tell Reuven, you pay Levi directly, so it doesn't have to go through Shimon. Shimon is out of the picture. Reuven pays Levi directly. So on the one hand, the money came because of Shimon. But in truth, it's now counted as if there's a connection between Reuven and Levi now, regardless of Shimon. And that's exactly what was going on by the Nesiim over here. In their minds, they may have thought, yes, we're so great, we're so important, we're getting the Yidden to give the donation. But in truth, the donation is happening now almost as if without the Nesiim. It's nothing to do with them. And this is when they realize that suddenly the Yidden are able to give everything completely without them, they realized that there was something missing inside of them. There was a certain element of laziness, and that's why by the Chanukas HaMizbeach they rushed to give first. Says the Rebbe, this is also why Rashi says that there's a Yud missing. What's a Yud? The Yud is level of Bittul. In other words, they're thinking to themselves, it's so beautiful, the Yidden are giving everything because of us, we are the Nesiim, we're getting the Yidden to give things, so it's to our credit. And maybe that's why they wouldn't even have to participate with their own donations unless there's something missing. So it was shown to them, you know what? Everything can be given without you. Says the Rebbe, the Hayra over here is, every single Yid is a Nasi. Every single Yid has influence in his immediate environment and so on. But together with the Nesiyus, there always has to be felt that element of Bittul. I mean, you can never feel that the other person's connection to Hashem is just because of me. I have to do it with an element of Bittul, and then you're Zoicha not to make that mistake, that you could just be Yoitze with another person's Avodah, but that in fact you should yourself also be adding in your own diligence of learning, fulfillment of mitzvahs, and of course through that to bring Mashiach immediately.